Over the last few days there's been a very noticeable change in basically the behaviour of the birds and in the behaviour of plants, and the light is increasing, and we're actually heading very closely now to the Irish Spring. And the Irish Spring is traditionally begins on the 1st of February, which is St. Brigid's Day and the ancient feast of Imbolc. And it has mostly to do with light. It can be quite cold in spring in Ireland, and but Ireland has its own idiosyncratic weather system, and its seasons are not quite like they are in other countries. So if you have, say, America or Asia, Europe, even continental Europe, you tend to have very fixed seasonal structures, but Ireland is out in the Atlantic, and as part of one of the second largest island of the British Isles, we're quite far out in the Atlantic, and we get a different kind of weather systems. We can often be very mild in winter, not always freezing cold, and when we do get cold it can last for severe short term, and then we can have a sort of a longer mild and dark and wet. But this year we've had some good cold snaps, and today is actually would normally be a very cold day, but the weather is actually coming up from southern Atlantic and it's keeping us warm. And this seems to have kick-started spring, because we had a cold snap last week. We've had a few cold snaps, and the plants and the animals and the birds, they're going to have a lot of food around now once the plants get going and once the insects start coming out. Although we do have fewer insects than usual. So I've videoed some very interesting things over the last few days, which show that spring is sort of really just about to begin. And as I say, February the 1st is St. Brigid's Day, and that is the traditional beginning of the Irish Spring, and it has more to do with light than anything, because our darkest days are between, like Halloween, All Hallows Eve, and that from the next 10 days basically was an ancient feast, both pre-Christian and Christian, and then that sort of started winter, and then that winter ends kind of it's like the darkest quarter of the year ends now on St. Brigid's Day. And after that it's a little bit brighter, then but bright enough to feel like spring. So we'll see now exactly what happens, but I think it's going to be, we're having an early spring, and obviously you could get a cold snap and you could get snow later on, but I just have a feeling it's not going to happen this year. But we'll see. But whatever, everything else seems to think spring is here, and they're happy enough. The first snowdrops of the year, definitely. They look really beautiful. And unfortunately they're quite near a road. They go well with the dawn chorus. There's a beautiful male blackbird keeping an eye on the scene, using a gate, an old rusty gate. Once again near the road, unfortunately. Never known so much traffic on the road. Well, if you look closely you'll see the yellow ring around the eye, and the males have that. Very friendly. He wants to see if I got any food though. Having a good scratch. It's a shame about all the traffic, but that's Friday for you. The females are brown. Beautiful bird. But not singing very much at the moment, only starting to. Well, they do sing, usually after rain. It's in spring, it's incredible. Really beautiful. Well, I'm here in the garden again, and it's a few days later, and the interesting thing is the plant that I consider the absolute best sign of spring is already up and flowering. And I never seem to see these get cut out in the way other plants do. And this is the crocus. And here we have some crocuses just opening up. And when I see these, I know it is basically spring. They're absolutely gorgeous. When the beast from the east came, the crocuses came up, but they didn't open their flowers. The flowers sat as buds, flower buds, for ages. And they didn't, I mean, before the beast from the east actually hit us back in 2018. And that was in March. So the crocuses kind of sat there with their flowers in buds, and then the snow covered them for a week or 2 weeks nearly. In fact, and then it cleared, and suddenly they burst into blossom, burst out flowering all over the place. And so here you go. But here we are in January, and they're already doing this, which is very early for them. And I think they do somehow seem to know. I don't know. I mean, you're talking about millions and millions of years of evolution, which should give them the ability to calculate what's happening with the weather or what way it's going to go. In the same way, any creature of any kind is able to adjust to its environment. So here we go. That's crocuses out. Really lovely. In my opinion, it is definitely spring. And Wednesday is in Ireland, of course, St. Brigid's Day. Well, it's St. Brigid's Day everywhere. They celebrate St. Brigid's Day. But traditionally in Ireland, it's the feast that marks the beginning of spring. The Irish spring starts on 1st of February, basically.